Welcome back, everybody, to the Digital Gate Studios production. You guys asked for it, and here it is. Basil, what do we got?
Welcome, everyone, to the dojo. As previously mentioned, Security Control is our reigning world champion.
Yep.
And
To much chagrin of a lot of people.
To the chagrin of many players, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, good.
Yeah.
I am a fan of Security Control.
And you don't even really play it.
And I've dabbled. I've dabbled.
Yep.
But I just think it represents something good for the game, which is the first is an anti to OTK,
Sure.
which I think everyone can agree the game is considerably faster than it used to be.
Sure.
And it rewards creative deck building. A Security Control list, format to format, gets 1 or 2, sometimes even 3 new cards to play with. But it looks completely different format over format.
And it plays different, too, for sure.
And it plays extremely different, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's great that there is an evergreen strategy revolved around controlling the board. That being said, many of the fans, many of the good people of the Digimon community hate this deck.
Yeah.
And the reason is they're not very good against it.
Yeah.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but a lot of people are very weak versus Security Control.
And there are really bad matchups, though. Let's just get that out there. Like, for a long time, a lot of green players in particular were kind of salty about it.
I tend to disagree.
Okay.
I think Security Control is counterable by just about every deck.
Okay.
And so what I'm here today to do is to outline some of the strategies that I use versus Security Control, both at the locals and in online tournaments.
Sure.
Because as previously mentioned, I am the anti-Security Control genius. I've never lost to Security Control in an online regional, and it's not going to happen anytime soon. Come at me on Discord, nerds. I'll crush you. So what I have today is 3 of my favorite decks.
Sure.
It's Greymon Tribal, Bloomlord, and Crossheart. And with those decks, I'm going to outline some scenarios in which you're probably making a mistake and what is something you could do in place of that.
Sure.
Not necessarily something that you should do every time, but sort of the concepts and the reason behind why I'm doing them.
And these are strategies that apply to more than just these 3 decks.
Of course. But these are the 3 decks that I've got. So let's say, for example, we're playing Greymon Tribal. It's something that I love to play. It's something that is going to be around forever.
It's kind of timeless. Yeah.
Whatever the case may be. So we're set up like this. Our opponent flips, Upamon and hard plays Magna Angemon. And a lot of you go, oh,
Yeah.
here we go. And so this is what a lot of you will do given this hand.
Or nowadays, they'll play the ace sometimes.
Or they'll play the ace, but let's say, for the sake of this lesson, that this is our starting hand and we're at 7 memory. And so you're thinking, okay, well, at least my hand's really good.
Yeah.
So I'm going to hatch my Koromon. I'm going to evolve my Agu. I'm going to draw. I'm going to go Agu X. I'm going to draw. I'm going to go Greymon. Ooh, still at 5, draw. Greymon X, obviously need that protection, draw. Ooh, now we'll up into the Metal Gray, draw. Okay, great. Oh, cool boy, perfect. We're going to get a bunch of stuff going on here. Oh, sweet, hit off the cool boy. Very nice.
Yeah, you're feeling good.
I'm the greatest player in the world. And even, red training too. Sick. Flip 2, grab my other training. I'm set up, ready to go. This idiot Security Control player, I was able to draw a bunch of cards and set up perfectly into my line.
Yeah.
This is what a lot of you would do.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I understand the appeal of doing that.
Yeah.
Is that is in almost every matchup, that is insane.
You win.
The game is over. You've
Yeah.
cycled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards. You've searched 3 and 4, 5 more.
Yep.
You're set up with a tamer, a training. You're at least into a level 6 next turn.
For cheap. Yep.
For incredibly cheap. But you're playing against Security Control. So they swing with their Magna Angemon, they hit Protoform, goes to hand. Okay, they're even in a worse spot now because they've hit your option. And so you're thinking, great, I'm going to go up into Metal Greymon. I'm going to go into Metal X for 1. Like, they passed you somehow, whatever. Go into Metal X, draw.
They probably played a purple Kari.
Yeah, they played Purple Kari.
Yeah.
Gain 1, draw 1. And then I'm going to training into my Gaiomon. Oh my gosh.
You're doing 3 checks.
I'm doing 3 checks at big number. First check, Chaos Egg.
Disaster.
Disaster. So now Gaiomon is removed from the game. It's done 1 check. And on top of that, all of these cards, because we're Greymon, are no longer useful to us.
Yeah.
So that entire turn 1, it drew us through, it cycled through all these cards for 8 cards, plus the one we drew off the Koromon, plus the one off the Cool Boy. Your resources are extremely depleted at this point.
20% of your deck is in your trash already.
Is gone.
Yeah.
And they're still at 5 security because they turn 1 Magna Angemon.
Yeah.
So that is sort of the problem that a lot of players run into. Now, I want to take it back to that turn 1. Let's say we're set up somehow similarly. I'm not going to set it back up. You guys get the idea. Let's say we're set up in a similar fashion and we have kind of the same hand, right? Agu, Agu X, into Greymon, whatever. Let's say instead of that, we're at 7, we hatch, we go our Agumon, we draw. And Greymon is in a unique position because their cards are incredibly strong. So at 7 memory, obviously you're thinking, oh, I can cycle through a lot of my cards, get my deck going, whatever the case. Just take this opportunity, realize that you're playing against security control. And at the end of the day, the security control matchup is always a resource management game. Take this 7 memory and throw it right back in their face. Hard play Metal X.
Yeah.
It's theirs at 1. They don't have a purple source yet. They can't Chaos Degrade you. They can't Hell Scythe. There's nothing in the trash unless their Magna Angemon dies.
Yeah.
You know, there's... Let's say they wanted to kill this. They have to use one of their Wyvern's Breaths. They have to use one of their Lonkia Disticados. Or it's not going to die.
Yeah.
And so now, instead of going through our entire line, 3 X Antibody, 4 X Antibody, 5 Cool Boy boost and training, we have played 1 card.
Yeah.
So our deck is still at its full capacity, basically, and we're threatening a Mega. So in that scenario, then we can swing security. Okay, it hits the Chaos Egg that was there originally, and it goes to security.
Yeah.
Not only have you removed a kill spell from their security that could win them the game, as you saw in the first example, you also are now at 6 security, which security control decks winning by deck out is not really possible in this format unless you're playing a purple deck.
Yeah.
Because cards are so strong these days that they are going to chew through that amount of security eventually because they're just so strong, especially in the case of Greymon. So in this case, we have sacrificed 1 card in our hand to get rid of a Chaos Degrade from their security. On the flip side, let's say it wasn't Chaos Degrade. So let's say we swung 8K, we had a Salamon, a Magna Angemon, or something that doesn't kill this. For
Even
example.
if you hit a Flame Hell Scythe early.
Exactly, a Flame Hell Scythe,
Yeah.
Calling from Darkness, a Tamer, whatever the case. Then we're into our, let's pretend this was Gaiomon in the first example. Then we pass it back to them, reboot, trash a security.
Yeah. Pretty good.
So that's something you have to think about in the security control matchup is if I play my deck how I would against every other deck, you will most likely lose.
Yeah.
If you build up your line in a normal way, you're going to chew through too much of your resource, which is the deck.
And they're just going to nuke it.
Before they can, they end up losing. So that's the first lesson I have for you. Hard play level 4s and 5s and threaten that way rather than anything else. And obviously these tenets apply to just about any deck that plays a normal ratio of Digimon. So that's, 12 rookies, 10 champs, 8 ultis, and then a few megas.
Well, the common comment in Greymon is going to be like, why don't you just play ADP?
Yeah, and the reason I didn't want to bring up things like ADP in this instance is because, yes, if you go into BT1 Wargrey, or if you go into BT12 Wargrey with ADP and swing 3 checks twice, yes, that is very good against
great
security
counter,
control.
But it's worse against a lot of other decks.
BT7 Aldemon. The red hybrid players do not need this strategy versus security control. They're already in a good spot. I'm talking to the people who play versus security control on their favorite deck and lose and think security control is broken. I can't beat it. The reason you can beat it is because there are other lines that are successful. So on the Greymon Tribe and other single stack decks like that, think about hard playing 4s and 5s to get more value with less draw. And that's sort of the way.
Gotcha.
As I do exactly what you say and bump the camera.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine.
So that was lesson number 1. Lesson number 2 on a favorite deck of mine, and that is Bloomlord.
Sure.
Bloomlord, you were talking even just now about decks that, or even colors that really struggle versus the security control matchup.
Stereotypically struggle.
Because Bloomlord has no protection.
Yeah.
It's just 14k for 2 checks, or sometimes a little bit better. But believe it or not, security control versus Bloom is my favorite matchup in the entire game.
Oh.
I think it's so fun. It's incredibly dynamic. Your turn changes pretty much throughout the turn, as well as Bloom, when given a lot of memory, those are the most complicated turns because normally you're trying to squeeze out as much as you can with a little bit of memory, but given a lot of memory, it's like, let's see what I can really do on this deck. And so what I really want to isolate with Bloom is sort of, some decks do have sort of natural strategies that will counter decks like security control. So in Bloomlord, you have, most commonly you'll see decks with 3 megas these days. And that is obviously the Bloomlord, the new Quantumon, and Quartzmon.
Yeah.
And so this is generically your top end in Bloomlord. Some people playing Rosemon, some people still playing Hydramon. This is what I'm rolling with these days. And so what you have to think about is a security control player is not like the rest of decks that you'll play against, in that to beat another deck, you have to swing 5 times and then swing for game.
Yeah.
That is how you win. In security control, that is not the case. It's most often chew through about 8 or sometimes even 9 or 10 security and then swing for game.
Yeah.
So you have to think about how much damage is my deck really capable of.
Yeah.
So for example, in Bloomlord, generally you're thinking about Bloomlord as at least 2 checks at 14. And 14,000 is going to get over most of the deck besides the level 6s in their deck. So
and
that's Death X and Ruin Mode. And then obviously it has no protection against things like Chaos Degrade, Wyvern's Breath, Fly Bullet, Rival's Barrage, Lonk, whatever the case may be. So what you need to do is think about, how am I going to play versus some of these decks? So obviously we have now Quantumon. Quantumon is reveal your opponent's security and take something out of it. So you can put their Magna Angemon into security, take a Chaos Degrade out of the security, and bottom deck it. And that is quite strong. But let's say that we don't have this card quite yet because it's in the mail, or maybe we're playing in BT14 still. Whatever.
Well, even
the case.
in most decks, you run 2, so you're not going to see.
or let's just
you just haven't drawn it.
You just have to think about your options. So let's say you have Quartzmon. Quartzmon is going to trash security, and a lot of decks have access to this ability these days.
Yeah.
It's not just a red strategy anymore. And so between these 3 cards, you need to be thinking about, how can I maximize my damage with the knowledge that eventually there is going to be a security bomb in there. So on a normal Bloom turn, let's say again, maybe we're leading off, we're going to go Palmon into Sunflowmon. And that's going to be quite good a lot of the times. And then our opponent, again, maybe they don't set us to a big memory number. Maybe they just play their tamer and pass us off. At this point, you have to understand that the security control player is not threatening you anytime soon from security.
Yeah.
Their goal is to win the board overwhelmingly and then beat you down slowly.
Yeah.
So where a lot of turns, the hard play Mimi would be a little bit slow. In the security control matchup, memory setters are just going to get you huge value over time. Because it's not so much that necessarily they're going to want to choke you to 1, but it's necessarily that they do have that option these days.
Yeah.
They have a lot of cheap tamers that are really good.
And the ace cards.
And the ace cards are cheap. So Magna Angemon set us to 1, go to 3. They play, Kari and then Hokuto, or they play Kari Mimi, whatever the case. They play their TK, their setter Kari, their TK and Kari. You're always going to get that 3 back.
Yep.
And then from here, it's again about being confident and staying in the raising. So we're going to draw, and even though we have Agitar in our hand, and we could go into Bloom this turn quite easily, you can be confident and stay in the raising, Digivolve and draw, and just play another Tamer and get your search off that way.
Yeah. Just be patient.
This is all with the knowledge that this first stack is going to turn into Bloomlord. And even if we're swinging 3 checks at 16, it's probably not going to resolve all those checks. And you have to be okay with that. So having the confidence to stay in the raising and not go out early and then think, okay, I'm going to do my big turn and it's going to win me the game. It's probably not.
Yeah.
You need to have the ability to understand that your opponent's security, when you're playing against security control, you have to assume that first check is the worst case scenario. And then as the turn develops, let's say you did go into Bloom that turn, you did swing 3 checks, and you resolved all of those checks. That's why the matchup is so interesting to me, because it changes throughout the turn.
Yeah.
So the lesson here is understanding your damage potential and when to stay in the raising and when to be confident and when to move out.
Yeah. I think another thing that people kind of freak out about is that, but they don't understand, is that like the clapback from security control is usually delete 1 Digimon or recover 1 card.
That's
so
right.
it's like, it's not terrifying. Like if you go against a Wargray and you give them 7, their clapback can be devastating.
Yes.
Security control, they're probably going to kill 1 thing, or they might recover 2 and still give you a lot of memory back. Yeah.
And the idea is you have to understand your deck better than they understand your deck.
Yeah.
Because the good security control players know every deck in the format.
Yeah, they know the matchups.
They know everything. They know how Bloom works. They know how many checks it can do. They know when they need to give your opponent a lot of memory and when to give them a little bit of memory. So just understand that it all comes back to your normal strategy doesn't work. But you have the ability to be confident in knowing that your opponent is not playing an aggressive deck, and just stay calm and think about your turn a little bit more carefully. Now, the last deck I want to talk about is Crossheart, and less so about specifically the Crossheart matchup versus security control, and a lot more about how the biggest mistake I think that players fall into playing into security control, and that's overextending.
Yeah.
And so a lot of players will, again, get 7 memory and think, oh, it's go time. I'm going to hatch. I'm going to evolve my rookie. I'm going to draw. Oh my gosh, I got Taiki. Perfect turn so far. Can flip 4. I can tuck something and I can get something. Very nice. I'm going to keep going as well. I can go into the Zenjiro and play out my Ballistamon and gain a memory. And then maybe I can play Akari. Great. And now it's theirs at 1. What a great job I've done. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, they didn't do it. Maybe they just passed me back to 1 with the Mimi. I'm going to promote. I'm going to go up, and I'm going to swing, and I'm going to draw. Oh, man, it lived. That's awesome.
You hit a card.
And then, yeah, I lived. That's great. I'm going to swing. Damn, this one lived too. Well, not a great way to pass the turn. I'll just play a rookie. What do you guys see here?
And set them up for Death X.
I see a 2-cost Death X on turn 2.
Yeah.
And for a deck like Crossheart, it's not the easiest thing to get rid of.
Yeah.
So it all comes back in this instance to understanding that you're in no rush against security control.
Yeah.
The Crossheart is quite an aggressive deck, and so it just wants to swing. I just want to swing. I want to draw off my Pikmons. I want to set up my Tamers, whatever the case may be. But it's again all about having that confidence to not play it that way. So rather, if they set us to a big memory number, and all you have is cross heart, all you want to do is maybe you do want to get off that Taiki because you want to, set up your search. You want to tuck something and you want to draw something, whatever the case may be. And now you're set up. And then even here, you might want to play Zenjiro, not play the Ballistamon, and just pass.
Yeah.
Because what's the worst case scenario?
They're going to recover one more.
They're going to swing with their Magna Angemon. They're going to hit something and live. And now what?
Yeah.
They're not threatening lethal. They're not putting you in an unwinnable situation. But if you extend super far, play out 4 Digimon and 3 Tamers, you're giving them a free Death X, or you've expended too much resources too fast.
Yeah.
So the lesson here is to, once again, understand that your game plan has to change. So even the next turn after that, you'll be set to 3. You'll promote your Ignitemon. You really want to swing to get that draw off the Pikmons, but you have to be confident. You have to tap the Taiki and go into cross 3 for 5, and then gain 1 off the Zenjiro. No swings. You get the cross 3 search off. Whatever the case, you get your 3, you get the Merva and the Shout. Very nice. And from here, if they want to Death X you, now they put you to 8 or to 7. They played it for 8. At this point, you've gotten enough search off, hopefully, that you have something to answer it with. Mm-hmm. Whatever the case may be. Obviously, it's different for every deck. But you just have to think about what your opponent is really capable of and what you're going to do in response to that. Because if you play it just as you would a normal deck, it's just not going to work out.
Yeah.
And the benefit, of course, to the material save decks is that when you swing and you do hit that kill spell, you are going to save your Digimon.
And on most accounts.
On most accounts.
Yeah.
And so that's the last thing that I want to say is that everyone gets frustrated that security control is very strong into their deck. But you have to find the ways in which your deck is strong into security control. Because at the end of the day, security control can tech for anything, but it can't tech for everything.
Not all at the same time.
On that first game, it's going into a long grind game. You're getting frustrated. You're not sure what you can do. Take an account of every card you're seeing. Because not every deck is going to have 4 Health Scythe, 4 Chaos Dag, 4 Kari,
probably
4 Magna Angemon.
Probably 4 Holy Wave. Yeah.
But even still, some decks aren't even playing 4 Holy Wave anymore.
Yeah.
But that 8 card or that 16 card core, you're going to see everywhere in security control decks. Everything else is malleable. The Tamer lineup, the kill spells, the eggs and rookies. Some decks are even playing level 4s with aces.
Yeah.
The megas change a lot. There's a ton of different ways to play security control. And in that first game, if you're not feeling confident, it's going to time, whatever the case may be, it's taking too long. This is where you need to start cataloging your opponent's deck. Okay, they're up on fly bullets. So anything that's deletion by an effect, maybe I can play around that. Oh, they're up on DP minus. I need to be wary of that. They're not very high on wide board removal. I can hard play level 4s and level 3s and then go for a big turn from there. Whatever the case may be.
And if you can't remember, I mean, if it is totally legal to ask for your opponent's trash.
Yeah, trash is public knowledge in the game. They cannot say, you can't see my trash.
Yeah.
It's in the rule book. So that's worth knowing too. So what have we learned, Jesse? We've learned
be better.
We've learned that security control has hit our opponent's field, and we have to get into the mindset. We are no longer playing Digimon as I know it.
Yeah.
We are now playing versus security control. We're in a resource management game. We have to realize that if we draw too much, we're going to draw our deck before we kill our opponent.
Yep.
If we extend too far, their clapback is going to wipe our board and put us in an unwinnable situation. And if we don't understand the limits of our deck, then we won't be able to punish them properly. So, dear viewer, I want you to take this mission upon yourself. I want you to go to your local security control player a half hour or an hour before your local or after and say, hey, I want to play a set versus you on security control, and really go into it with a clear mind and with the things that I've taught you and try and apply them.
And see how it works.
Because once you get confident in the security control matchup, I truly believe that it will become fun.
Yeah.
Because you will unlock parts of your deck and your gameplay that you didn't realize you had access to. And from there, it's really quite enjoyable.
And you won't have to modify every deck you make based on, what if I play against security control?
Your deck has the answers. You just have to find them.
Wow. What a statement. All right, guys. Well, as requested, that's Basil's tutorial on what to do against security control. If you guys have any other crazy matchups that you think are just unwinnable, feel free to shoot them to us. Comment and let us know, because everything is beatable in this game.
That's right.
So we'll see you guys in the next one, and thank you again.
We got it.